Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining. I'm Kadee Campbell, the founder of 30+1, the home for independent music professionals. This is Fanbase from scratch, and this is take two. And it's take two for a reason. When I was ready to do take one, the tech, it just wouldn't work for me. I tried, I had people waiting, I thought I had everything set up, and I just couldn't make it work. So I had to reschedule and set a new date. When that happened, I was actually super disappointed. And I know it doesn't sound logical, but I was ready to go at that time, and I was really disappointed that we couldn't go ahead. And then I was on Twitter and I saw a tweet that said, just because you're having a bad day, it doesn't mean that you're having a bad life. And I really needed to hear it. So I thought that I would also share it with you guys in case there's anybody who's watching this who needs to hear it too. It's just a bad day. So before I start, I just want to tell you a little bit about 30+1. So I set up 30+1 when I moved to music management from an entirely different sector and a completely different lane. I knew I had loads of skills, and I knew I was good with people. I knew I was good with organizing people. I knew I was good with creative ideas and campaigns. But one of the things that I saw as being really core to success in this industry was an effective network. People who could offer you opportunities, who you could collaborate with and learn from. And I looked around and I saw that some people had spent almost their whole career, or even the length of my lifetime, cultivating these effective networks that they had. And I wanted to look at a way where I could get that more quickly and it wouldn't take me all this time. And together we pool our skills, experience, and resources. Once people join 30+1, we put those all together so that we can all accelerate our growth in music and reach our music goals a lot sooner. If you are interested in being part of the community or seeing how you can add value by even just getting involved, then visit the website 30plus1.co. I'll also link it in the description to this video too. So this is the masterclass about growing your fan base from scratch. So it's for people who have zero fan base, or also for those who have a small to medium fan base. So if you have a small to medium fan base, but your efforts have almost been scratched, then we're also talking about growing your numbers and your efforts from scratch. This masterclass is primarily for musicians, but anybody who is working with musicians will also find value in this too. So I'll run through the structure of the session in just a sec, but I just wanted to remind you here that if you want to post any questions, comments, feedback, anecdotes, nice little stories, things that might help others, anything that you notice that you want to share, then please do drop them in the comments. And I will be checking the comments periodically, and I will personally respond to every single comment that is left there. So let's get started. I once read that all musicians really need are more fans. And it resonated with me because more fans equals more streams, equals more sales, equals more ticket sales for live shows, equals bigger venues, bigger fees, a bigger profile, which can then lead to the collaborations you want and the partnerships you want. So you can certainly see how more fans can tie in with a lot of goals that people may have or that you may have for your music career. But I'd go one step further to say that it's not just about fans and that never-ending pursuit of new fans, but it's actually about building connections and creating relationships with your fans so that you have engaged and active fans, so that you have a valuable fan group who actually take action to support you in your career. I also have something that I want to tell you about right at the end of the session, which is about our coaching program to build 1,000 true fans. So stay tuned and we'll get through everything. So today's motive is covering why you should invest in true fans. So we'll talk about what true fans are, what the value is, and why it's worth your time. We'll talk about the fan development journey, which looks at the different stages that fans are at, how they act, the actions that you should take, and how you can move them along the spectrum right from the beginning all the way up to fully engaged fans. We'll also cover right at the end things to remember that you have to remember at every stage and throughout your journey in developing fans from scratch and developing true fans. There'll be another reminder to post questions and comments, and then we'll talk about further support in going forward, and of course, the offer through the coaching program. So I want to start with this quote from Bryan Adams. If your music is great, you will have fans, not because you spent time chatting on social media. It's true. If you make good music, you will have fans. And if you have one person that likes your music, you can have 10, you can have 100, you can have 1,000, and you can have more. So if you're wondering whether you can actually build a fan base, whether you can build 1,000 true fans, then this is your viability test. If you can get one fan, then you can get more. And actually, in this world where now the internet and independent release has opened things up where you can connect with a lot more numbers, that means that you only need, out of the world's population, 1 in 1 million people to like your music to get you to 1,000. To me, I think that seems like some pretty good odds there. So this quote is definitely a snip of a conversation, and we don't have the full context. But just looking at this quote, one of the things that I would say, that whilst it speaks the truth about the necessity, it speaks to the necessity to work on your craft and develop your music and prioritize your music, that it definitely overlooks how the industry works today. The opportunities that I spoke about from independent release, they have completely changed the industry, and they've created chances for independent artists to reach a market, to reach fans with their music that didn't exist before. But on the other hand, it's because it is accessible, it does make it harder to stand out. And people are getting their attention pulled in all directions. And we're kind of at this point now where people's attention spans are 140 characters or short. And add that on top of having limited resources and not having the backing of a major label, even with good music can get lost without promotion and without the chance to connect with your fans. I would say that it also doesn't think about having fans that will actually take action. So whilst, of course, if you make great music, you will have fans, but will you have fans that will travel across the country to see you play? Will you have fans that will pre-order your album? Will you have fans that will buy limited merchandise? Because actually, especially as an emerging artist, these are the type of fans that you're going to rely on to be able to make money from your music and invest more time in your music. So going back to the sentiment of the quote, what I'm going to say is, if you can tour when you release your music and you can make those one-to-one connections with your fans, you know, from the stage with your group of fans, and you can tour the world and you can reach enough people, then that's amazing. You might not need to put the work into promotion. If you can release your music and you don't even need to tour, and people just hear it and your message gets to everybody that you want to hear it, again, that is amazing. But if you can't do those things for whatever reason, maybe you don't have the funds or you're not at that stage in your musical journey, then the facts are that you are going to have to put some work into promotion to make sure that your music gets in front of people. So I've been working with artists now for 7 or 8 years, and I've worked with artists across genres and at different stages of their career. I've worked with artists who are award winners, award nominees, those on first, second, third albums, those that are now signed to majors, those that are signed to independents. And I've worked with them on their release campaigns and profile building campaigns too. And before I worked with artists, I worked on political campaigns. So I've had a lot of campaign experience. So I know that the success of campaigns hinges on messaging. It hinges on the relationship that you as the person putting the message out have with the person who you're speaking to, and also on a very clear and concise and easy call to action, which is just your ask, such as download this, follow this, subscribe to this, sign up to this, for example. This is why I strongly believe in the power of building relationships. This is because I have seen it work. Putting time into building your relationships isn't about neglecting the creative or becoming a content creator over becoming a musician. It's about giving your creation its dues. It's about honoring the work that you put into creating your music and making sure that you put the work in, you put the promotional work in, you put the legwork in, developing the relationship with your fans so that it gets the chance to be heard and gets the chance to be in front of people. So just in case we're not on the same page right now, the fan relationship is definitely important, right? The fan relationship is important, full stop. It feels like a total no-brainer to me. It's like the example that I said at the beginning: more fans, more streams, more ticket sales, bigger venues, bigger fees, and the list goes on. And you can see how clearly it aligns to goals that you may have for your music career. But it's particularly important for certain groups. If you are new to music, it is so important that all the actions that you're taking are intentional and that they're proven strategies that work. Now, you can adapt these strategies to whatever you're doing, add your own creative flair, add your own innovation and new approach, but it's really important that you're spending your time on things that will actually move you closer to the goals that you're setting for yourself in your music career. It's also really important, the fan relationship, for people that have limited resources, so limited time and limited funds, for the same reasons that everything you do, if you have limited funds, needs to be intentional, needs to be well thought out, and needs to be something that is really going to push you forward. Developing the fan relationship is also for you if you've actually been working hard and putting in the time, but haven't seen those results. This is a strong indicator that it's really likely that you're focusing your time in the wrong places. And really what you need is a shift in what you're focusing on and a shift in direction. And maybe you're working on the wrong things and you need to work smarter and not harder. And that can mean investing in fan relationships. And that's what we're going to look at now in more detail. This is about working smarter and not harder, making sure that your hustle pays off. Your music and your music projects, they deserve to be heard. So let's look a little bit more at this proven strategy. So how do you build a fan base anyway? So I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning. You don't just want any old fan base, you want an engaged one and you want an active one. This involves understanding your fans and being able to move them along the spectrum of the different stages of fandom, which we're going to look at now. So here are the different stages. This whole big circle represents your entire audience. That is everybody that knows about you and knows about your music. So we have casual listeners right on the outskirts, then to followers, and then we have subscribers, and right at the center there, we have true fans. So everybody who knows about you and fits in your audience will sit somewhere within this spectrum. As you see, it's not a linear diagram. And actually, people don't always move for it in a linear process. So you won't always get somebody moving in a straight line from casual fans to true fans. But you may get some people who come in hot, straight as true fans, or you may get some people who come in as casual listeners and progress to followers, but stay at followers, or some people that come in at the subscribe level. But one thing you can do is make sure that you are catering to fans at every level. That's something that's in your control. And you can clearly see that each stage of this fan journey influences the audience size as a whole. But you can see, if you make sure that you're nurturing your whole audience, that the whole audience numbers will get bigger. As one section gets bigger, that feeds into the whole circle. So let's talk about casual listeners. One of the key characteristics is definitely that they have found you. But one of the things to remember is that they have no relationship with you. So they found you, but they neither like you. You don't know whether they like or dislike your music, which means that they can take or leave you. So it's something casual, such as hearing a song on the radio, having a friend play a track for you. They're part of your audience, but they're not necessarily fans at this stage. So let's look at the actions. You need to be clear on your presentation. So you need to explore the best way to present. You need to ask yourself some of those questions about what makes you you. You need to take a step back before you can find out the best way to present yourself as a package, a whole package. So your music, your visual, your message. Before you can develop that package, you need to be really clear about what you're putting into it. And for yourself, you need to be really clear about who you are as an artist, what you want to contribute to this world, what you want to give to your listeners, what inspires you, what motivates you, and answer some of those questions. In the coaching program, we go through this really intensely with a set sign of activities and questions, but you can start by asking yourself some of these big questions. And once you've understood that, then you'll be able to present really concisely to your audience and catch these casual listeners who you only have a really short time to catch, with your best content, your best images, all nicely packaged up and consistent wherever you present. So next, you want to look at be discoverable. And your starting point here is to think about how you find new music. Is it playlists? Is it radios? Is it friends' suggestions? And all of those things, when you do that really comprehensive list of where you find new music, you need to then make sure that you present in those places. And because you've already done the work on your package as a whole, you can present really nicely in those places too. Lastly, you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. This is linked a lot to the action that you took on the first bullet, which is be clear about your presentation. But you really want to make sure that you're removing any difficulty, making it really easy, really quick, and using that really short time you have to catch these casual listeners with all your best content. Hit them with your best stuff, your most popular tracks, your best reviews, your feedback, your best interviews, images, right out there, right in front, to really catch and engage these casual listeners and move them along to followers. And with that, let's look at some followers. Now you've got those casual listeners' attention and you've moved them into followers. And this is a bit of different territory because as a follower, they are firmly a fan. So some of the key characteristics are that they like your music, they're interested, they're curious, they want to know more. You've definitely caught their attention. And I hope that that leads on nicely to our actions about what we will do at this stage. Because if they're curious and they're interested, this is definitely your time to start engaging them. They like your music, they want to know more, so you have to give them more. And you have to think about that two-way communication. And when you're thinking about that two-way communication, you need to start with thinking about how you develop relationships naturally. And if you think about it, it's asking some questions, getting to know that person, them getting to know you and asking you some questions. And then it's that back and forth. And that's exactly what you initiate at this process. So using whichever way that you engage your followers, let's say through a social media platform, and sharing bits of yourself, but also starting that two-way dialogue, asking for their feedback, doing a bit of Q&A, and just starting to build that relationship and starting that two-way conversation and getting to know them. It's also really important that at this stage where you start to share about yourself, that you develop a strategy, and in particular, a communication strategy and communication pillars. Another word for pillars could be themes or topics. And really, these are just core topics and subjects that you develop the content that you share around. And they are very much led by things that make you you as an artist and things that you decide you want to share. So it could be things that you're into, such as social campaigns, or it could be things that inspire you, such as your city, or things that motivate you, such as your family. So when you get these content pillars, it becomes super easy to develop content. So you're not sitting there scratching your head, but we have this whole process in the coaching program where you come up with the pillars, and then we're able to develop loads and loads of content just from those 5 pillars. And it really helps with keeping what you communicate really consistent and on message, and so people know what they're getting, and it just makes it easier for you too. So for example, if you're an artist who's heavily influenced by the city they live in, for example, then the city could end up being one of your pillars. So things that are happening in that city, things that you love within that city, things that have inspired your song. So let's talk subscribers. This is another group that I named to really conjure up an image. So we're thinking mailing list people, exactly the first people that come to mind. And a quick note here is that you must not sleep on mailing list people. It's so important to have control of your list, and not just to have these subscribers on social media or a platform that is beyond your control, where you're at the mercy of algorithms and you're at the mercy of what's popular, where one minute everybody's on MySpace, and then the next minute we're all on Instagram or whichever other platform is the platform of the day. You need to make sure that you're not reliant on this, and that you definitely have a way where you can always reach out to this subscriber group directly. So let's look at some of the key characteristics. They are engaged. Subscribers are engaged in the two-way conversation that you started back when they were followers. So they want to know more, and they want to share more about what they like, about what they want to see from you, but they also definitely want to know more. They're engaged, they're in that two-way conversation, and you really have an opportunity here to turn them into your true fans, which we'll talk about in the action section. They are also invested. So they've taken some meaningful action. This means that they have either exchanged an email to sign up to your subscriber list, so you know that they will listen to your call to action, or they've taken the time out to sign up to a group or anything else where you've decided to host your subscribers. I think that it's really important to note in this group that you may have true fans that you haven't identified as true fans that are sitting in this group. So it's a really important group to nurture, or in fact, your true fans are really only a few steps away when you are looking at this subscriber group. So it's a really important feeder group and a really important part of your fan journey to think about. So some of the actions that you want to take are creating a space for these subscribers. So I mentioned a Facebook group or a mailing list. Wherever you want to cultivate this space, there are also other platforms where you can have community spaces, so that you might not think about right away, but the community space on a YouTube channel, for example, can definitely be a space where a subscriber list and where subscriber fans and an active group of fans can gather. It's just a place where they can engage with you as the artist, but also with each other. So the other action that you want to take is you want to keep the conversation going. Now, at an earlier stage, you've already developed that communication strategy and your communication pillars. So you've got an idea of the kind of content that you want to share. But now it's about making some content only accessible for this special group. So this is about increasing their investment, and the last bullet point of also giving them a reward. So for this group, you want to think about things that are just for this group, such as downloads just for people that are signed up to your mailing list. You want to think about first release of ticket sales for concerts just for this group. You want to think about information, updates that only go to this group. And you want to think about ways for them to input and have that two-way communication with you that, again, only exists for this group, and really reward them for further investing in you and encouraging them to even do more. So that brings us to true fans. And I didn't go into true fans in detail at the beginning, but 1,000 true fans, which is where the term true fans comes from, is a proven business strategy and income model, which has been popularized by Kevin Kelly, the editor at Wired magazine. So basically, a fan is anyone who enjoys your music. Remember that circle? That was the audience. And then we got to a stage where it was people that liked what they heard and were curious to know more. These are all fans, anyone that enjoys your music. And a true fan is a dedicated fan that is invested in you as an artist, invested in your success, and invested in your artistic journey. They are essentially primed to support everything you do. They like your post, they subscribe to your newsletter, they buy your tickets, they go to your out of town shows, and they pre-order your merchandise. They take action and they support you in a way that matters. They show up, they download, they purchase, and all of this essentially means in reality that you get closer to doing more of what you love, spending time on your music, more of your time. So let's look at the math of it. If you get 1,000 true fans to spend £100 a year on whatever you create in some kind of output, so this could be downloads, merchandise, shows, and other activities, so this is £100 each over the whole course of a year, then you can build a very comfortable existence on £100,000 a year. In music, this can mean that you do not need a hit to survive, that you don't need millions of sales or millions of fans to make it to the top of the charts or to win an award to do your music full time. It's an absolute game changer, and it goes against much of what we've been told before. 1,000 true fans can build a good financial basis for your music career. They can also act as a springboard to more, as these dedicated fans act as your advocates and they act as free promotion. They are really about some of the things I mentioned at the beginning about making your hustle pay off, because they are the first to take action. If you've already started building fans, then I'm sure that you can think of one or two people that might be true fans, that might be able to fit into this group. One or two people that are the first to like, to stream, and to give you that feedback. So those are all the characteristics, and that's a bit more about true fans. Now let's look at the actions. The key word to remember here, with which is a thread that goes through all the actions, is exclusivity. For this group, you want to produce things that are exclusive just for this group. So first of all, you need to understand what this group likes. And it's really important to look at how they are feeding back to you. So you'll have started that two-way conversation and you'll know who these fans are. So you'll know them and they will know you, and you will know what tracks they like. You will know what content they respond to, and you will know what kind of rewards that they are open to. And we'll talk about some of the rewards a bit later. So once you understand what this group likes, you have to lean into that and you need to deliver it to them exclusively. So if there's certain content they like, such as backstage content, behind the scenes content, then you offer that to this group exclusively. You also should identify this group in some way. So they could be a special segment of your mailing list. So you have that subscriber group, but then you might have a smaller group within that subscriber list who are just your true fans, who get, again, these exclusive and tailored, which is the next point, rewards and opportunities. So we talked about previously in the subscribe section, having subscribers have first access to ticket sales or secret downloads or downloads that are only available to this list. So similarly, you would do that for true fans, but you may up the ante for these fans. So it could be a VIP experience that is only offered to these fans, for example, or super limited merchandise that you only make available to these fans, or opportunities to engage with you that, again, you only make open to these fans. It could be exclusive listening parties or a launch party where you only invite true fans and subscribers, for example. So it's all about exclusivity and opportunities for them to further engage with you. So also, the actions that you want to take are creating a team and making them part of this team. So back in the old days, artists used to have fan clubs. And these fan clubs would be spaces or lists that people would sign up to, and they would get updates. They would be the first to get exclusive content and merchandise. But what was super amazing about these fan clubs is that they were administered by fans themselves, and they were administered by super fans, by true fans. So you can use that model now still, even though we're not having fans and we're not all using posts to send letters and communications. But in fact, you could have fans, for example, that moderate a group, that moderate your YouTube community or your Facebook community, or wherever you choose to host that community, or who get the conversation going. So you can bring people into your team that way. You can even go a bit extra if you know your true fans and you know they have specialized skills. For example, if you know that they're good at design and you're looking for somebody to help with some design work on a track that you've released or an album, then definitely you could pull a fan in to help with that work. You get greater investment for them, and you create a unique opportunity for them to further invest in your journey and to become part of your team. The last action that I want to think about is about creating touch points. And in doing this successfully, I ask you to think about things that you are a super fan of, things that you love, and things that you are a true fan of. And really, a true fan is created through moments, through magical moments, through great experiences, and through all those touch points. And you need to think about how you put those into your fan development journey. How can you create those moments that really create those true fans, that create those memories, that creates that excitement that people are never going to forget and always associate with you? So this is about exclusivity. This is about making them feel part of your team. This is about making them invest even more in your journey. So you need to think about those unique experiences that really add value. So before I talk to you about some of the points to remember in going forward when you're building a fan base from scratch or building 1,000 true fans, is that I wanted to talk to you about 1,000 True Fans for Musicians, our group coaching program, with a single and core focus on developing your fan base. It is our first group coaching program that is cohort based, but it isn't the first time it's been run. It's been run a few times already. And with each round, we have improved it and added to it. So this round is 100% the best round yet. So it's developed in recognition of how central building that fan base is to all those goals that you set in terms of getting more shows, getting more fans, making money from your music, doing your music full time, all of that good stuff that we've spoken about, dream collaborations, growing your profile, selling more merch. And in this program, we talk proven strategies to make this viable and manageable. So it's not about only doing one thing, but it's about shifting your focus to engaging fans and building relationships and building connections with them over the endless pursuit of new fans. And it's about recognizing that you don't need as many fans as you think. When we think about that 1 in 1 million, and when we think about that there isn't a need to have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers to create a really comfortable living from your music. So in this 14-week program, you get to see how to create strong connections with your fan base. You get to learn how to leverage that true fan relationship. So once you've built them, how do you create value and how do you monetize that relationship? And you get to map your transition from where you are to where you want to be with your goals. So you get a really clear roadmap at the end of the program that you can use going forward. And because I know that you'll be doing this alongside your music, we also look at planning and managing your time, how to use automation, setting things up so that they are automatic. That means that when somebody signs up to a list, they are getting automatic emails, and we look at how you set that up, how you plan those, how you develop the content for that, what are the best resources to use. And your hand will be held and you will be guided through every single step to take action. This is definitely an action-based course. And that means that I encourage people who are working on building a fan base to enroll. If you aren't ready to start the work now for whatever reason, then that's totally okay. But what you may find is that you may find you're better suited to another online course, other free content. We've got some articles on the website. We've got loads of free content on Instagram, and you may find that that's better suited to you because this is very much an action-based course and it works best for people that are wanting to start to build their fan base right away. So here's another quote for you from Kevin Kelly himself. He said that it was time-consuming, nerve-wracking, and that you may not know where to start. And he is very right from my experience too, but that is why we've developed the program in this way. So the program structure has been developed to include weekly content being uploaded. And so there is a balance between working on your own and at your own pace, but also being kept motivated and having regular check-ins. The group coaching sessions, which are live sessions, give you the opportunity to meet other artists on the same journey as you. So you get that peer support and you get to learn from each other. You get the motivation, you get the inspiration, and you get the added benefit of developing your network. This means that you aren't working in isolation and that you get exposed to a lot more opportunities for collaboration and support. We also have a 24-hour online community, which is attached to this program. And once you sign up to this program, you get lifetime membership so that you meet all the previous participants as well as future participants to build that network. Group sessions also include invitations to guest tutors. So some of these are planned and just part of the program, and they really add value by bringing in external expertise. But some of these happen as the program develops, and they're based on the needs of the cohort and what comes up in our discussions, both in the live sessions and in the online community. Previous participants have definitely identified the group sessions as some of their favorite parts of the coaching program. So we also deliver content via one-to-one coaching. So unlike just an online course, I wanted to make sure that this really had aspects which were very much personalized to the participants, what you are doing, where you are in your journey, what your fans act like, what kind of genre you're working in, and really make it personalized, really make it to something that really reflects what you need to do based on your current situation as an artist. So if you think about one-on-one coaching outside of this structure, 1 hour of one-on-one coaching can cost the total price of this whole coaching program. So I just want to compare that to talk about some of the value that you'll be getting by having one-to-one coaching added to this program for this total price. So you're getting one-to-one coaching as well as over 15 hours of content through the group sessions, live sessions, online communities, activities, and the one-to-one coaching session. We also have a personalized fan development journey. So this is a method that I have developed and tweaked. And again, it's one of those that's been revised. So at the moment, it's actually at its best. And this is essentially your roadmap. This is your roadmap from getting from wherever you are to 1,000 true fans. And it's personalized to you. It's an easy way to do all of that work that we were talking about, looking at all of those big questions, identifying your pillars, identifying core parts of your package as an artist, and knowing how to take action to communicate and to promote your music to your fans at different stages of the journey. So there are loads of activities throughout the coaching program, and some of the themes that you will see are that they are about setting your goals and targets. So 1,000 is a really great number, and it's nice and round, and it works really great for the example, but it isn't the number for everybody. So we'll look at your targets, which depend on a few things, including how you want to live, how you want to work, how you work with others, whether you are a band or a solo artist, and what sort of splits you work with. So we'll look at getting really specific on those targets too. We'll also look at the different fan stages in a lot more detail. So we've skirted over them and covered them on a surface level to give you a really good enough idea to get started today, but we will look at them in a lot more detail, and we will look at the actions in a lot more detail going forward in the coaching program. And one thing that I want to say about the numbers, I am going back a little bit, is that these numbers will really help you understand how much work that you need to put in if you think about Kevin Kelly's quote from earlier. So moving to other activities, we're also going to look at curating the message, which I spoke about at the beginning, which is very much starts with understanding who you are as an artist and answering those big questions, and then thinking about how best you communicate that. That also ties in with the content pillars that we've spoken about earlier before. So those topics, themes, subjects that create the core guidance for all the content that you will share with your artists to better engage with them, to get them to understand who you are and what you are about, and to just add to your whole package of your music and really enforce whatever messages you are communicating through your music, and really start to engage with those fans and build that friendship, that relationship I was talking about. We also look at resources and activities, what resources are best to use. There's so much that's out there at the moment. So it's really important that we pull together some best practice and some suggestions for what really works and what's great. And of course, this is one of my favorite bits, case studies. We look at other artists who are building their engaged fan base, who are building 1,000 true fans, and we look at what's worked for them, the lessons that they've had, and what hasn't worked and why, and what we can learn from that for sure. So here are the things that you want to remember. Number one is put your best content forward. This is about making it really easy to hear your best tracks, to see your best images, to read about your best reviews and feedback. You also want to make sure that you have a really clear and succinct message about who you are as an artist and what your music is about, so people can find it out really easy. At the casual listener stage and the early stages of the fan development journey, this is most important because you only have a really short time to capture and keep the attention of this group. Number two is map out your fan journey. Think about how your fans act at every single stage of the journey. Think about those touch points. Where do you give them information or music? How do you create those moments, those touch points that really move people along that fan journey? And this will be different for every artist. Once you've mapped it out, you can start to see the gaps where maybe there aren't any touch points and there should be, and you can look at how you start to plug those. Really think about how you become a fan of something and what kind of connection you have that moves you along that spectrum. In the program, we go through a really detailed set of questions and a proven structure for the fan development journey that I've revised 3 times now. And we use that to map out the fan development journey and identify what actions should be taken based on the artist and their fan base. Number 3 is two-way communication. So think about how you can communicate with your fan base to get them to know you and understand you as an artist. But don't forget that it isn't a one-way conversation. It's about getting their feedback. It's about seeing what they think about tracks or getting their investment so that they feel like they have made an investment in you and that they're more willing to take action whenever you put a call out. And remember that feedback isn't just received by direct questions, which should definitely be put by like polls and surveys, but also feedback can be captured via analytics, and analytics can be taken from almost every single platform we use. Your website, from social media, there's so much information out there which can help you get informal feedback from the people who are following you, the people who are buying your music, and the people who will ultimately be your true fans. Number 4 is remove friction. Now, we do a lot of work on this in the program because I appreciate that you will be doing this work alongside creating your music. So with removing friction, it's about making it easy for people to take whatever action you ask them to take. So if somebody follows you on social media, it should be really easy for them to find out how to subscribe to your mailing list, and then really easy for them to find out when your next show is and purchase the ticket. And there's a whole process of removing frictions that people aren't having to search around. I've been on artists' social media platforms where I've been searching to try and find a link to their actual music, And you wouldn't believe it to be true, but it is. So this one is really about making it easy for people to engage and for people to become true fans. And in the program, we look a lot at trying to automate this process so that you're not having to necessarily take action every single time someone does something, and some things can be automatically responded to or names be automatically added to a list just to facilitate that process. Number 5 is be consistent. It takes dedication, time, and persistence to build true fans. So whatever level that you can, and everybody's level will be different, you need to commit to that level and you need to commit to it consistently. If you can give half an hour a week to fan development, that's fine. Just do that consistently and build it into your schedule. The platform is super easy to use. There's a space where you can see all the modules and you can see the activities broken down. You can see a calendar of events and additional resources. And there's also dedicated space to talk with other participants in the community and to see any announcements or updates from the program. So let's hear some feedback that comes from participants from both terms 1 and terms 2. They're encouraging you to take the leap and to invest in yourself. They're also talking about how useful and practical the course content is. And there's a bit that I especially want to pull here about the program helping you to identify yourself as an artist and how to communicate that essentially. If you're listening to this and you feel like you've heard it all before, that you know all of this, you know fans are important, you know how to build true fans, you know how to engage with your fans, you've already got a fan development journey, you know how to develop your content that you're going to share and the two-way communications. If you know all of this, but then you're not getting the results that you desire, this is a clear sign that you've outgrown all the free content and potentially that you need a bit more support, something that's a bit more intensive and something that will hold your hand a bit more to take action. Act now, guys, because the doors are open periodically and for a limited amount of time, because we have a limited amount of spaces and we really want to make sure that everybody on the program gets a personalized and valuable experience. So the most updated information about when the doors will be open will always be available on the website, so you can check it out there. Another thing to know is that at whatever point you're watching this video, if there is a discount applied, it will always be the biggest discount that you will get, because the closer we get to the program starting, the smaller any discount would be. To enroll, visit 30plus1.co/True Fans for Musicians using an underscore instead of a space. And if you have any feedback, questions or comments, then contact me via Instagram where I'm most active and use the handle 30plus1. If you want to find out more about the 30plus1 community or me, then visit the website, get involved, and everything is there. I want to thank you so much for your time. I want to wish you the best on your fan development journey going forward. And for those of you that joined the program, I will see you very soon.